Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, 12 reasons why you should buy an Epiphone instead of a Gibson. Well, I do own a Gibson, so I can get away with a lot of what I'm going to say. Because what's missing from the wall? Oh no! My Gibson is gone! It's gone! Oh! It's out for repair for the second time in a month! Epiphones are way cheaper than a Gibson. How is this possible? Simple. You can buy 3 really cool Epiphone guitars for the price of even my Gibson, which cost me $1,800 before I went and spent $1,000 on gold upgrades, and now it's sitting in the shop the second time in a row with problems with the pots yet again. It's like, oh man, can't you just do your job right the first time? Technicians, I'm telling you. Anyways, if it wasn't for the fact that it has a 3-year extended warranty on it that I can still renew for another 100 years, I would have just done it myself. Anyways, so Epiphones are definitely cheaper. And you can get some really good Epiphones. Like, think of it this way. 6 and change for an SG standard. Angus's Young guitar, right? Same guitar, one of many that he has, right? We have the Epiphone Les Paul Custom Pro. Now that one's a little pricier, but between the two of these, that's the price pretty much. Well, actually no, that's still cheaper than my Gibson by about 150 bucks. The Epiphone Les Paul Standard Pro, the one that they're loaning me while they got my Gibson captive in some prison cell somewhere, this one here is about, I think it was $700. Not bad. Okay, my J200 was like 6 and change. My Gold Top, now that one's a little more expensive. That's like 870 bucks or 890 bucks, somewhere around there. It's still well under $1,000. So I could still buy the Gold Top and the SG, or I could buy the Custom Pro in the SG, or I could buy, let me think, I could do the Gold Top, and I could do this one, so that's 15 and change, and I still got room left over to buy an amp. How about that? And maybe even a pedal if I do it right. Now, there are cheaper Epiphones, obviously, okay, that you can get for about 500 bucks a pop. So there's 3, and you still got $300 left over. I paid 18, so 15, 18, $300, $300 left over. Hey, we could even get a 4th Epiphone. We could get one of those SLs like I have on my channel. You know that yellow one? That thing was freaking cool. It's too bad it wasn't left-handed though, or I would have kept it. But you could get that, and that's $200. That still leaves $100 left over. What do we get for 100 bucks? We can buy an orange amplifier for $100. I actually just bought another one of these the other day because, you know guys, I had one of these things. I should have kept it because I only paid like 90 bucks then. This is 100 bucks now. Prices are going up. But this thing even has cab out. 8 ohm cab out. You can go to a 4 ohm cab too, but just watch the volume because you could cook the amp. It's only designed for 8 ohm. But anyways, still an 8 ohm cab. And I got 2 of them down on the floor from my Marshall stack. I can make this thing really squeal. Anyhow, so I can get all that. 4 guitars plus an amp, yeah, and probably a cheap like $10 strap that's to share between the 3 of them. Piece of cake. I am like musically hip for like no problem. And that's just the price of my Gibson. That Gibson was $1,800, okay? And that was in 2018 when I bought it, in 2018 when it came out. That's my Smokehouse Burst one that I spent $1,000 in gold upgrades on, yeah. Twice in a month in the shop, and they didn't even fix the problem completely. They actually made the problem a little bit worse on one control. So it's like, I don't know what they did. But this is no fault of Long McQuaid. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with the people that they had to actually send it to because of my warranty, right? And it's like, cheapers. Can't believe the incompetence of some people. It's like, they had the list, they knew it was wrong, just rip out the stupid board, put a new one in, replace the switch, we're done. How hard is that? Hopefully they do it right this time though, because I'm getting a little ticked off, okay? That was a lot of money I spent on that guitar. And that's another reason why you buy a Epiphone or a Gibson, but we'll get to that too. So they are cheaper than Gibsons, by far. Epiphones also will stay in tune better and longer than Gibsons. Why? Because the headstocks are narrower. That means D&G is much closer and not so easily will it bind in the nut. And it won't bind in the nut that easy anyways, because why? Because Epiphone actually knows how to cut a nut properly, where Gibson fails in that department miserably. Okay? I have not seen one Gibson, even in the last 20 years, where they actually cut a nut properly out of the factory. Okay, you've always got some strings that are sitting on the slot instead of in the slot flush where they're all supposed to be. Other manufacturers know how to cut nuts for the most part. There's not that many companies out there that follow the path of Gibson and leave 3 strings hanging up top instead of inside where they should be. Very few, in fact. But Epiphone certainly is not one of those companies, yet Epiphone is owned by Gibson. Now, Epiphone also makes all the same guitars, for the most part, than what Gibson does. There are some Gibson guitars that, of course, Epiphone does not make, because it's the Gibson anniversary, it's not Epiphone anniversary, obviously. So, there are Supreme version guitars or anniversary guitars made by Gibson that you are not going to get from Epiphone. Otherwise, pretty much everything else is a free-for-all and up for grabs, okay? And they're allowed to do it because they're owned by Gibson. So anyways, what do we got next? Epiphones sound just as good. It's true. Find me an Epiphone that doesn't sound just as good as a Gibson. But it has to be like the same model, of course. And, you know, you'd have to say, you know, really, I mean, you'd have to use the exact same pickups too. And that's not that common either. I mean, I think the odd time, well, sometimes, a lot of times, Gibson and Epiphone share the exact same pickups regardless, okay? But either way, the Epiphone will sound just as good. So, I don't see the issue here. Now, Epiphones can be modded just as easily as a Gibson guitar, or any other guitar for that matter. They're easily modifiable, and people do it all the time. Epiphone is owned by Gibson. We mentioned that already. Okay, and that's number 6. Number 7, the necks don't break as easy on Epiphones as they do on Gibsons. Now, the most common Gibsons, of course, that do have the neck issue aren't the ones that are like in a straight line. It's the ones like your Les Pauls and your SGs and other alike guitars, including acoustics. And pretty much every acoustic on the planet is susceptible to headstock breakage because they all have a back rake to them. It's just that, you know, an acoustic neck won't break as easily because it's got that big thick body in the way, so it takes, you know, it goes to the point back of the headstock. If it does kind of go, yeah, you know, where you got a, you know, a 10-pound guitar hitting the ground, and if you actually just laid it down on a mat, you'd find that the headstock raises up and enough that the body is levitated. So yeah, it's pretty easy to snap a neck on a Gibson. The Epiphones still do snap though, don't get me wrong, they actually still do, just not as easily as a Gibson would. And if they do snap, the breaks are usually not near as bad as a Gibson because of the lesser back rake. Okay, so that does make a difference. And the volute thing, yeah, that's barfy gross. That's like, you know, I wouldn't ever own any guitar that had a volute on the back of the neck to make it stronger. What makes it stronger is you take care of your stuff better. You're not so much of a jerk to your equipment, you know. You treat your stuff right, it's going to last you. I've never had a broken headstock issue. Never. Okay? And even my Gibson, never a problem. Why? Because it stays in my hands, or it hangs on the wall, or is secure in a proper stand that is safe. I also don't use cables on my guitars anymore since I went wireless, so less chance of having an accident where somebody trips over the cable on stage and sends my guitar flying. I never have to worry about that because I use wireless gear, which wireless is just as good. Actually, it's in fact better than cables in my opinion. Anyways, number 8, Epiphones last just as long. Yes, they do. As far as lifespan goes, they will last just as long as a Gibson will. Depends on how you treat it. Better you treat it, longer it lasts. Pretty simple math there. Many artists do play Epiphones over Gibsons, and some artists actually used to play Gibson, but now actually just play Epiphones because they prefer them. okay? Because they are a lot better. They are cheaper. They do stay in tune better. You don't have to do 10 hours worth of work on the darn thing just to get it to stay in tune, like filing the nut, changing the angles of the outtake on the nut for the angles to make up the difference. You don't have to use nut sauce as they call it on a guitar nut on an Epiphone for it to stay in tune better. Okay, it's just, and if you do get a bad nut ever on an Epiphone, that's like about a 1 in a billion chance of that happening, or maybe 1 in 100,000. Who knows? It's a very low rate of chance that would ever happen. Every Epiphone I've played, every Epiphone I've owned, I've never had an issue. Okay, every Gibson I've played, and I've only ever owned one. But every Gibson I've played, they all got issues, including my own. That's why I put a string butler on mine. And besides, I can't recut my nut for the heights, or I'm going to run into the frets because I got jumbo friggin' fat frets on my Les Paul. So there's not enough room to cut the slots deep enough on the E, A, and the D on my nut on my Les Paul in order to get them level with the other ones properly. So I got to kind of put up with something. That, or I'm going to have to get a custom nut made eventually somehow, or I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. Anyhow, so number 10. Epiphone makes all the same models as Gibson except for maybe a few. We discussed a little bit about that, and it is actually true, and they can because they are owned by Gibson. And Gibson allows them to not only use the names, but they also allow them to use the body shape, the colors, and all this stuff. Now there is a bit of a color difference though, like especially if you look at the gold top from Epiphone like mine. Now some people actually think that's more appealing than the Gibson one, and vice versa. It's a matter of taste. Right? And color is one thing where it is a matter of taste. And if you don't like the color, find one in this color that you do like. And if you can't find that, well then just buy one in a simply done finish, strip the bugger down, void your warranty of course doing this, and repaint it whatever color you want. If you want pink with orange and green stripes and, you know, booger snot green coming down in a little driplet kind of pattern, hey, it's up to you how you want to decorate your gear, okay? I don't care. So, next, Epiphones. Epiphones spend more time in your hands and less time in the repair shop. That is so very true. I actually watch a lot of repair videos. I see very few Epiphones come in compared to Gibsons from the same channels that I watch. Pretty interesting. More Gibsons come in than Epiphones. Interesting. Okay. So, and of course my Gibson is the proof of that. And I don't mistreat my guitar. I treat all my guitars like they're like my babies, like they're like my precious. Like you watch Lord of the Rings, precious. That's what my Gibson is to me, okay? I mean, I treat her right. I treat her with respect. You know, I'm not nasty to her or anything. And yet she's failed me twice in a row now. Well, once from a natural failure, second time was the shop screwed up. Now they got it in there to fix it a second time in a row. Anyways, now, number 12. They are just better than Gibsons. Right? Pretty bold statement when you think about it, but let's look at the statistics here. How often do you hear of Gibsons getting broken headstocks? Now, I don't care about all the other companies. I've done videos on that stuff before. But just in Gibson and Epiphones alone, how many Gibsons have headstock issues breaking, even just sitting there on the stand and all of a sudden went, okay? There's more of them that happen for neck breakages than Epiphones. Whether it's in transport, whether it's sitting on the stand, hanging on the wall, whatever, the guy nails it across the stage. Epiphones have a better habit of surviving usually, or they survive with less damage. Gibsons always seem to take the brunt and just blow up like little bombs, okay? And that is a big thing with that back rake on the neck. Is a huge, huge issue. And it has been since from the beginning. And Gibson knew this would be a problem with headstock breakage. It gets them repair work. I mean, you know, I don't know how people go through life and not realize that companies intentionally do things for a reason. And it's not always about style in the case of Gibson. It's about maintenance down the road. They know it won't stay in tune properly. They know that the headstock is going to be apt to break, and break really good, which means the worse the breakage, the more bucks on the repair job. You know, Gibson even started selling, for a short bit anyways, pre-broken headstock guitars for thousands of dollars. And we're all shaking our heads all over the forums going, what the heck? I mean, I would never buy a guitar that's had a repaired headstock, nor would I buy one that's already coming with a broken one from the factory. Oh, this is my fix-it kit, so I got to give you $8,000 for this guitar, and then I got to pay some bloke another probably $1,000 to fix it right. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, because I can buy the whole darn guitar intact from you for the same amount of money, or actually less, because it's going to come in one piece. You purposely broke it and charged extra for that just so that I could have the fun and enjoyment of having it repaired, and hopefully it gets done right. Thank you. Anyways, yeah, that was a dumb move on Gibson's part. Gibson does a lot of stupid stuff. Epiphone, not so much. I've never seen Epiphone sell pre-broken headstock guitars. No, God forbid that would ever happen. Anyways, but yeah, that's my top 12 reasons. Stay tuned, because I am going to be doing a video as well on reasons why you should buy a Gibson, period. Okay? I'm not going to go why you should buy a Gibson and not an Epiphone, because really there's more reasons to buy an Epiphone than there is a Gibson. I mean, let's just do the math on all that, you know. Hit rewind, watch again. You'll understand. Anyways, thanks so much, guys, for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and got a lot out of it. Hope you like the little funked out hairdo thing I got going on here. I think I'll have to straighten that out for the next video, though, because, yeah, it's whatever. Anyways, see ya.